In the beginning of the movie, we are introduced to Gadis, a young girl immersed in her own world. Suddenly, a knock on the door startles her. She opens it to find Dewey standing there and warmly invites her inside. We soon learn that Gadis had been attacked, but her claims were dismissed by others. To prove her ordeal, Gadis shows Dewey the bruises on her body. Dewey, shocked, asks who could have caused them, reminding Gadis that the person responsible is deceased. Undeterred, Gadis insists that the presence of her attacker still lingers. Dewey, taken aback, decides to stay with Gadis for the night. As night falls, Dewey receives a call from Beauty and tells him about Gadis' unsettling condition. She confides in him, revealing that she feels unsettled, attributing her friend's condition to an alleged incident involving a guy named Ayub, who passed away 15 years prior. Beauty tells her that Gadis needs psychiatric attention, as she cannot move on from her dark past. The call is abruptly interrupted, causing a momentary disturbance. Dewey's attention is drawn to the window, which inexplicably opens on its own. She quickly moves to shut it, determined to dispel any sense of unease. Turning away from the window, Dewey notices a stack of news clippings on the table, shedding light on a person named Lesmana and her daughters. The significance of these articles hangs in the air, hinting at a deeper connection to the unfolding events. However, before further revelations can be revealed, a gust of wind sweeps through the open window, revealing a ghostly figure outside. As Dewey looks back, her expressions turn scared and the scene fades to black. The following morning, Gadis emerges from her room, her body marked with bruises, in search of Dewey. To her horror, she discovers Dewey stuck to the ceiling inside a blood-drawn circle and strange marks all around her. Overwhelmed by fear, Gadis' heart races as she witnesses this unsettling sight. Suddenly, the disturbing corpse of Dewey plummets from the ceiling, and Gadis is left all alone, screaming and crying in both fear and pain. The scene transitions, and we find Alfie taking pills, restless and unable to find sleep. In the stillness of the night as she tries to sleep, a faint voice catches her attention, causing her senses to heighten. Just as she switches off the light, a chilling presence materializes behind her, a ghostly woman lurking in the darkness. A surge of fear courses through Alfie as the encounter sends shivers down her spine. With trembling hands, Alfie quickly switches the light back on, hoping to dispel the eerie apparition. However, as the room illuminates once again, a lingering sense of unease lingers, leaving her with the unsettling realization that someone is silently observing her every move. Back downstairs, outside the apartment complex, we see a man silently watching the place. The next morning, as Alfie awakens, she discovers a group of individuals who have entered her house without invitation. Determined to confront them, she musters her courage, but before she can react, they swiftly incapacitate her with a taser, causing her to lose consciousness. They abduct the poor woman and bring her to an abandoned villa, where Gadis is present too. When Alfie regains awareness, she finds herself in an abandoned villa, disoriented and bewildered. Soon after, Beauty, Jennar, and Leo approach her. Jennar offers a sincere apology to Alfie, indicating a hint of remorse. Worried about Nara's whereabouts, Alfie queries Beauty, who reassures her that Nara is safe and among others. The woman then asks what they want with them, and Jennar takes the opportunity to shed light on the villa's history, revealing its origins as the Badra orphanage, founded by a childless couple with a desire to provide a loving home. However, the once warm atmosphere shattered following the tragic passing of the wife. Jennar continues, explaining that Ayub, the owner, subjected the 7 remaining unadopted children to the once caring sanctuary is transformed into a place of fear and suffering, where disobedience has resulted in such as being locked in the kitchen without basic necessities. As she speaks, she continues to get emotional. Impatient to get to the heart of the matter, Alfie urges Jennar to reveal the crucial details. It is then disclosed that they, the group present, had set fire to their foster father, leading to his tragic demise. As the story progresses, Alfie finds herself aimlessly wandering the house, her senses on high alert. A lurking presence looms behind her, though she cannot visually confirm its existence. Uneasiness creeps over her, but she dismisses it as a mere sensation. However, as she descends to a lower level of the house, she comes face to face with an unknown individual who launches a sudden attack. Overwhelmed by fear, Alfie rushes back to where the others are gathered, but she keeps the encounter to herself, reluctant to share her terrifying experience. Jennar proceeds to introduce Alfie to the remaining individuals, expressing apologies once more. She reveals their shared belief that Ayub has returned, seeking vengeance for past wrongs. Gadis was the first to encounter his presence, but her claims were initially dismissed until he tragically took Dewey's life. Despite these events, Christy remains skeptical, prompting Jennar to admonish her and demand her departure from the group. To aid in their investigation, they present Alfie with a book, which she opens only to be confronted by the visage of the same ghost she encountered 2 years prior. Overwhelmed with fear, Alfie rushes outside, feeling a wave of nausea that culminates in her vomiting. Beauty follows her, providing comfort and support. In her distress, Alfie queries the origin of the book. Beauty recounts a childhood memory of a mysterious woman who bestowed the book upon Ayub, yet her identity remained a mystery to him. Beauty asks Alfie to go back inside, but she hesitates. Beauty discloses that, following Dewey's tragic demise, Martha delved into research on the book. She believes that Dewey's loss is merely the start of a sinister chain of events. With the passing of Ayub, a curse has been cast upon all of them. At this point, the chilling image of the devil's sign is revealed, further emphasizing the gravity of the situation. They lead Alfie to a room that instilled the greatest in their hearts in the past. Beauty opens the door to reveal a cellar, noting that only Ayab had ever ventured inside. Despite their fears, they collectively decide to explore its depths, except for Christy, who adamantly refuses. Alfie entrusts Nara's care to Christy, while Martha also prepares to depart. However, Gadis pleads with Martha, insisting that she needs her presence down in the cellar. Together, they descend into the depths and come face to face with a mysterious symbol etched upon the ground. Martha reveals an occult belief that those who worship demons must surrender their souls as sacrifice. The figure they encounter is identified as Moloch, an ancient demon symbolizing enlightenment and immortality. They speculate that Ayab intended to sacrifice them all to this demonic entity. Martha discloses that a curse inflicted by a demon worshipper never dissipates, unless revoked by a surviving human who has faced the devil itself. She implores Alfie to recite a spell to break the curse. Initially hesitant, Alfie eventually agrees to aid them. However, as Alfie's blood touches the spell, she is overtaken by intense shaking. Suddenly, the devil manifests within her, unveiling a scene from their past where they collectively set Ayab. Undeterred, Alfie resumes reciting the spells until she suddenly collapses, overcome by the encounter. Meanwhile, all the others around her start feeling cold and shiver. Upstairs, Nara alerts Christy to a walkie-talkie emitting static noise, capturing their attention. Meanwhile, as Leo listens in, a sinister laughter resonates through the device, with a chilling voice claiming that Christy is his. Fear grips them all as the cellar door slams shut, and furniture begins to tremble uncontrollably. Amidst the chaos, Alfie catches sight of a figure that remains invisible to the others, only to witness it viciously attack Jenar. In a desperate bid to save the girl, Beauty and Alfie rush to her aid, but Alfie's terror intensifies as she spots the ghostly presence of Ayab. Before they can escape, Ayab seizes Jenar, brutally ending her life by forcefully slamming her head against the ground. Meanwhile, Nara and Christy are alarmed by the piercing screams emanating from downstairs. Christy gets up to investigate, and she bravely opens the door to the cellar. Alfie urgently instructs her to lock the door, hoping to contain the malevolent spirit within. However, Ayab's vengeful spirit manages to escape and possess Christy. The possessed girl swiftly shuts the door, trapping the others inside, and charges toward the terrified Nara, her appearance twisted horrifyingly. In a desperate bid to protect herself, Nara locks herself inside a nearby room, seeking refuge from the possessed Christy, who resolutely attempts to break down the door, using her own head to strike it. Meanwhile, a helpless and scared Nara's fearful cries for Alfie's help echo through the room. Hearing Nara's desperate screams, Alfie frantically attempts to pry open the cellar door. Simultaneously, upstairs, Christy successfully breaks through the door and rushes into the room, determined to locate Nara. As Christy scans the area, she discovers Nara hidden atop a cupboard. In a disturbing turn of events, Christy reaches up and seizes Nara's throat. Suddenly, the weight of the cupboard shifts, causing it to topple over and bury Christy underneath. Believing Christy to be lifeless, Nara prepares to flee from the room. However, to her shock, Christy emerges from beneath the fallen cupboard, breaking free from its oppressive weight. In the nick of time, Alfie arrives at the scene, urging Nara to leave. With a resolve hardened by the intense situation, Alfie takes a pipe and strikes the demonic figure, ending its existence. But just as she thinks the ordeal is over, a haunting voice calls out her name, warning that her father still awaits her, proclaiming her damnation and condemnation. Nevertheless, as Alfie turns, she realizes that it is Christy's lifeless body lying motionless on the floor. In frustration, Alfie asserts that nobody should venture into the cellar again, emphasizing the need to seal the door tightly. Fueled by anger, she confronts Martha, questioning how she knew which page to read from the spellbook if she couldn't read it herself. Alfie suggests the possibility that Martha either made a mistake or is hiding something. Resolute in her decision, Alfie prepares to leave with Nara, asserting that she has fulfilled her obligations. Beauty intervenes, addressing the group, stating that the burden of finding a solution rests upon them, and offers to take her towards the train station, but their plans are thwarted when Beauty's car fails to start. Upon inspection, it becomes apparent that the car's wires have been deliberately severed. He goes back inside. It is in this moment that Alfie senses a change. A voice other than Nara's speaks from behind her. Startled, she glances into the rearview mirror, revealing a ghostly figure. However, when she turns her head to look directly, Nara is innocently seated beside her. Suddenly, a malevolent demon charges towards them from the side, and everything goes black. Alfie finds herself back inside the haunting house, desperately searching for Nara. In her quest, she encounters a doll that inexplicably falls, only to be picked up by an unseen hand. Moments later, a ghostly figure emerges and begins advancing toward her, triggering intense fear within Alfie, who flees in. She races through the house and eventually enters a room where she comes face to face with Lesmana, her deceased father. She witnesses him pulling hair from his mouth. Lesmana warns her that the devil still awaits her, but Alfie, overwhelmed with fear and frustration, blames him for their predicament. Lesmana, however, explains that he did everything in his power to prevent the unfolding events, but his efforts were futile. He reveals that the devil forcefully brought her into this realm, and urges her to leave. As Alfie absorbs Lesmana's words, She suddenly becomes aware of Ayab's presence behind her. He grabs her arm, and his grip tightens around her hand, sending a jolt of pain through her body. Abruptly, Alfie wakes up from her nightmarish encounter, finding a burn mark on her arm. Beauty expresses surprise as he discovers Alfie's burn mark, promptly tending to her injury by bandaging. Alfie confides in Beauty, revealing that she has encountered Ayab and firmly believes that he will not let them go without a fight. Martha and Leo arrive, bringing the book as requested. Alfie appeals to Martha, seeking her assistance in taking help from the book. However, they become aware of Gadis' absence, prompting Beauty to task Leo with locating her and bringing her in, as it's better for them to stay together. In the room, Martha reveals that the book has been accessed by many people. As Alfie examines the book, a sudden recollection surfaces. Gadis had a band-aid on her thumb. Connecting the dots, Alfie points out Gadis in a childhood photograph, triggering a revelation about Stockholm Syndrome. Back outside, as Leo searches for Gadis, we see her hiding behind a door. To Leo's shock, he notices a symbol drawn in blood on top of the cellar entrance. Before he can comprehend the situation, Gadis appears beside him and forcefully pushes him down, locking him inside. Desperate to be released, Leo pleads with Gadis to open the door, but she coldly informs him that Father Ayab has decreed his punishment. In a sudden turn of events, the lights abruptly go out, plunging Leo into darkness. In the midst of this eerie atmosphere, he sees his childhood self, ominously declaring their impending doom. Leo tries to defend himself, but the illusion vanishes as quickly as it appeared. Filled with a sense of dread, he attempts to contact Beauty for help, but to no avail. To his horror, Christie's lifeless body emerges from the coffin, ominously moving toward him. Leo's gaze is fixed on her, but when he turns around, he is startled to find Christie seated behind him. An unsettling sequence unfolds as Christie extends her hand, but before she can fully reveal her intentions, Leo retaliates, causing her to vanish. Feeling increasingly helpless, Leo finds himself in a state of despair. Suddenly, Ayab's ghost grabs his face, violently tearing it and forcefully drags him into the depths of the cellar. Back in the room, Alfie, understanding the implications, realizes that the spell they performed inadvertently resurrected Ayab. Alarmed by this revelation, Alfie decides to leave the room. However, before she can make her escape, Gadis locks the door, trapping her inside and further escalating the tension. Then Ayab tells Beauty that Leo is with him, and he will follow him soon. Alfie gets very angry after hearing this, and asks Beauty for his help in opening the door. As the scene shifts, we witness Gadis declaring her readiness to submit herself to Ayab, willingly offering her. A manic laughter escapes from Gadis, filling the room with an unsettling atmosphere. Ayab, appearing near her bed, radiates a sense of satisfaction and delight. Then the demon enters her body, and with a blast, everything goes silent. As Beauty and Alfie forcefully break open the door, they are confronted by the sight of Gadis perched on the stairs. A foreboding tone laces her words as she informs Beauty that he will soon join Leo in Ayab's grasp. Beauty pleads with Gadis, attempting to reason with her, but she dismisses his pleas, claiming that they are blind to Ayab's true greatness. Gadis asserts that Ayab loved them all, despite their betrayal. In a chilling revelation, Gadis confesses that it was she who summoned Ayab that fateful night, utilizing the power of the Black Book. Ayab took Dewey's life and claimed her soul. However, to achieve Ayab's permanent resurrection, Gadis needed someone with even stronger ties to a greater force, and that person is none other than Alfie. Gadis commands Beauty to kneel before her. However, Beauty refuses to yield, taking a bold action by attempting to burn the Black Book. Gadis swiftly extinguishes the flames and, enraged by his defiance, she violently twists Beauty's hand, lifting him off the ground and slamming him into the wall, causing the poor boy to lose consciousness. Turning her attention to Alfie, Gadis launches an attack, but an unseen force intervenes, preventing any harm from befalling Alfie. Startled by this unexpected resistance, Gadis is taken aback. Seizing the opportunity, Alfie retaliates, engaging Gadis in a fierce struggle. She manages to gain the upper hand, tightening her grip around Gadis' throat. However, Gadis seizes Beauty and hurls him at Alfie, momentarily disrupting her assault. The crazy woman then starts walking towards Martha, who quickly sends Nara away. Gadis forcefully reminds Martha of Ayab's role in paving their path, attempting to sway her with memories from their childhood. However, Alfie resolutely urges her not to succumb to Gadis' words. In a fit of anger, Gadis advances menacingly towards Alfie. Martha, desperate to protect her, brandishes a knife and attempts to intervene. However, Gadis halts Martha's attack and ruthlessly turns the tables, stabbing Martha with the very same knife. She callously tosses Martha aside, who steals the book from her. In the meantime, this causes her to fall onto Alfie. To further her malevolent agenda, Gadis sets fire to the room, sealing the door behind her as she makes her exit. Martha, on the verge of her demise, entrusts the stolen Black Book to Alfie, emphasizing that she is the chosen one. She begs Alfie to utilize the book's power to halt Gadis and Ayab's plans. With those final words, poor Martha's life fades away. On the other side, Gadis finds Nora, but she attacks her with a taser. Sensing the effect of the attack, Nora assumes she is finished off and attempts to escape the scene. However, Gadis' call compels her to turn back, her movements guided by a sinister force. With the taser in hand, Gadis ominously walks towards Nora. On the other hand, Alfie opens the book to go through those symbols and spells. She puts her blood on that page and makes a sign with her hand. As she begins reciting the spell, a surge of power courses through her, granting her newfound abilities. Then she exits the house with an injured Beauty and tells him that she has to find Nara and he should go and fix the car. Returning inside, Alfie resumes her search for Nara. There, she comes across Lasmana and Lakshmi, engrossed in watching something on the television. To her shock, she witnesses Nara pleading for help on the screen, only to be confronted by the appearance of Ayub, who cruelly laughs. Overwhelmed by anger, Alfie smashes the TV in a burst of frustration. Then she proceeds to the cellar where she encounters the devil, who sinisterly asserts that she is now in his realm. In her exploration, Alfie discovers a pathway leading back up to the house, allowing her to re-enter. Inside one room, she discovers a horrifying sight. Leo's face gruesomely peeled, causing her to recoil in fear and quickly exit the room. In another room, Alfie comes across the ghosts of young Christy and Jen are engaged in playful activities. Desperately seeking information about Nara, Alfie questions them, but both ghostly figures point in opposite directions. As she listens intently, Nara's voice resonates through the room. Suddenly, the ghostly forms of Jennar and Christy transform into menacing entities, launching an attack on Alfie. However, due to Alfie's new powers, they could not do any harm to her. Finally, Alfie manages to locate Nara, but her relief is short-lived as Martha unexpectedly rises, making them shake with fear. With a sense of urgency, Alfie grabs Nara's hand and attempts to flee, but Martha follows them and swiftly transforms into the menacing figure of Ayub. Faced with this terrifying presence, fear grips both Alfie and Nara, propelling them to flee even faster. However, as they race away, Ayub morphs once again, this time into the form of Gadis. Turning to face her pursuer, Alfie tells Nara to run while she stands her ground, displaying unwavering courage. Definitely, she declares her lack of fear towards Gadis. In response, Gadis launches an attack, but not before remarking that Alfie's powers are futile unless she knows how to wield them effectively. As the confrontation intensifies, Gadis vomits blood and attempts to force her elongated tongue into Alfie's mouth. Swiftly, Alfie defends herself by striking Gadis' tongue with a knife. Enraged by this defiance, Gadis hurls Alfie aside. In this critical moment, Nara arrives, helping Alfie to her feet. The voice of Satan resonates in the background, proclaiming his ability to possess anyone. Alfie instructs Nara to make her escape towards the ladder upon her signal. Stepping forward to confront Gadis, Alfie urges Nara to run. Nara's escape successfully diverts Gadis' attention, providing Alfie an opportunity to attack. However, her efforts seem futile as Gadis remains unscathed, unaffected by her assault. With a grip on Alfie's throat, Gadis' mouth reveals a tentacle-like tongue. Determined, Alfie harnesses her newfound powers, controlling a nearby saw blade, and strikes Gadis' head with precision, causing her to collapse to the ground. As Alfie makes her desperate escape, Gadis horrifyingly revives, relentlessly pursuing them. Racing against time, Alfie and Nara manage to exit the house, but Gadis continues her relentless pursuit. To their relief, Beauty intervenes, using the car to strike Gadis, providing a temporary respite from her pursuit. Exiting the car, Beauty joins Alfie and Nara, only to discover that Gadis has yet again survived the impact. In a chilling moment, Gadis pleads with her father not to abandon her. Suddenly, Ayub gruesomely rips his way out from inside Gadis' stomach, eliciting fear and horror from all present. Gadis breathes her last breath as Ayub begins advancing towards them. As Ayub approaches Beauty, poised to attack, Alfie intervenes, intercepting his path. Their collision causes Ayub to vanish momentarily. However, Ayub manages to possess Alfie, gradually gaining control over her. In a final act of defiance, Alfie musters her strength, plunging a knife into her, sacrificing her to prevent Ayub from fully taking control. She collapses upon the ground in pain. Beauty and Nara desperately attempt to revive Alfie, their words filled with concern and urgency, but to no avail. Meanwhile, Alfie's soul travels to an unknown place. There she encounters Moloch, who engages her in a conversation. Moloch inquires whether she recognizes her surroundings, and poses the question of her readiness. Moloch proceeds to trigger memories from Alfie's past, recounting her journey and emphasizing that this is her destiny. He reveals that since her childhood, her soul has belonged to him, and she can only meet her demise in a manner dictated by him. Moloch expresses disdain towards the act of considering it an affront to his authority, as it implies ownership over one's own soul. With his powers, Moloch restores Alfie's life, and she suddenly rises, alive once more. Nara and Beauty rejoice upon witnessing Alfie's revival, their faces brighten with relief. In the midst of their happiness, Beauty catches sight of his family, a glimmer of sadness shining in his eyes. The following morning, the three of them gather in the car, ready to depart. Beauty questions if they still require the book, or if it's too dangerous. Alfie holds onto it, recognizing its significance and potential. The movie comes to an end with the trio finally leaving behind the haunted house and the horrors they encountered.